Most women think they know what men notice first. But when a man feels a genuine, intimate connection, his attention shifts in ways almost no woman expects. Today, we're uncovering the 6 subtle things he can't help but look at. And by the end, you may never see his gaze the same way again. When a man begins to feel an intimate emotional connection, his attention naturally shifts away from surface-level attraction and towards something much more meaningful. One of the first places this change becomes visible is in the way he looks into your eyes. He's no longer just noticing how attractive you are. Instead, he's quietly trying to understand the person standing in front of him. Your eyes become a place where he looks for honesty, comfort, and emotional consistency because those qualities matter far more when real feelings begin to grow. Eye contact carries a kind of information that words often can't. A conversation can be carefully planned, but your eyes reveal emotions that are much harder to hide. That's why a man who genuinely cares will often notice whether your eyes brighten when you talk about something you love, soften when you feel understood, or become calm when you're completely comfortable in his presence. These subtle moments create a stronger emotional impression than any compliment or flirtatious conversation ever could. As emotional intimacy develops, he also becomes more aware of the moments when you're simply being yourself. He isn't looking for perfection or expecting you to appear confident every second. In fact, the moments that usually stay with him are the ones that feel completely natural. Whether you're listening carefully, thinking before you respond, or smiling without realizing it, those quiet expressions tell him that he's seeing the real version of you. That authenticity creates trust, and trust is one of the strongest foundations of lasting attraction. Many women assume a man is only paying attention when they're dressed up or trying to look their best. The truth is often the opposite. When emotional connection becomes the driving force, his attention is less influenced by appearance and more influenced by how he feels when he's with you. If your eyes communicate warmth, kindness, curiosity, or genuine interest, those emotional signals leave a lasting impression because they make him feel emotionally safe. And when a person feels safe, they naturally want to stay close to the source of that feeling. This is also why comfortable silence starts to feel different. He doesn't always need constant conversation to enjoy your company. Sometimes, simply sharing a quiet moment while looking at each other feels more meaningful than talking for hours. Those pauses aren't empty to him. They're filled with reassurance that the connection between you doesn't depend on having the perfect words. The absence of pressure allows genuine emotions to surface, making the bond feel stronger without either of you trying too hard. Over time, these small moments begin to shape the way he remembers you. He may forget the exact topics you discussed, but he'll remember the calm feeling he experienced while looking into your eyes. That's because emotional memories are often created through feelings rather than facts. And once his attention begins to notice the honesty in your eyes, it naturally starts recognizing something else just as meaningful. The tiny facial expressions that appear before you even realize you've made them. Once a man begins paying attention to the honesty he sees in your eyes, something else quietly captures his attention without him even realizing it. He starts noticing the small facial expressions that appear naturally throughout the day. These aren't the smiles you put on for a photo or the expressions you consciously control. They're the brief, genuine reactions that flash across your face before you have time to think. Ironically, those are often the moments he finds the most meaningful because they reveal emotions that can't be rehearsed. A quick smile when something unexpectedly makes you happy, the way your eyebrows lift when you're genuinely surprised, or the thoughtful look that appears while you're choosing your words may seem insignificant to you. To a man who feels emotionally connected, however, these little expressions become pieces of your personality. They help him understand not just what you say, but how you experience the world. Instead of memorizing facts about you, he's quietly learning your emotional language. This shift happens because real intimacy changes what the mind naturally focuses on. In the beginning, attraction is often driven by appearance. But as emotional connection grows, his attention starts moving toward authenticity. He's no longer searching for perfection. He's looking for the moments that feel real. The way your face softens when you feel understood. The sparkle that appears when you talk about something you're passionate about. Or even the slightly confused look you make when you're trying to figure something out can become incredibly endearing. Those expressions remind him that he's getting to know the person behind the image. What's interesting is that most women never realize these moments are being noticed. They're usually too brief to attract attention from anyone else. Yet someone who genuinely cares tends to remember them long after they've happened. He may not even be able to explain why a certain smile stayed in his mind, or why he keeps thinking about the expression you made during an ordinary conversation. Emotional memories are rarely built from dramatic events. More often, they're created through dozens of tiny authentic moments that quietly leave a lasting impression. There's also a deeper reason these expressions matter. They give him clues about how safe and comfortable you feel around him. When your face naturally relaxes instead of looking guarded, it signals growing trust. When your smile appears effortlessly instead of feeling forced, it tells him that you're enjoying the moment rather than performing for his approval. Those subtle signs reassure him that the connection is becoming genuine, and that reassurance strengthens his own feelings in return. Over time, these little expressions become familiar in the best possible way. He begins recognizing them almost instantly, sometimes before you even notice them yourself. They become part of what makes you different from everyone else, because no one else smiles exactly like you, reacts exactly like you, or shows emotion in quite the same way. And as he quietly learns to recognize those unique expressions, his attention naturally begins to expand beyond your face, noticing how your true personality reveals itself through the way you respond to everyday moments. By the time a man starts recognizing your natural expressions, his attention begins reaching beyond your face to something even more revealing: how you respond to the ordinary moments that most people overlook. Grand romantic gestures can be impressive, but everyday reactions are much harder to fake. That's where he often discovers the qualities that make an emotional connection feel real and lasting. He notices what makes you laugh when you're not trying to be polite. He pays attention to the excitement in your voice when you talk about something you genuinely love. If an unexpected inconvenience happens, he quietly observes whether you become patient, frustrated, optimistic, or calm. These reactions aren't being judged as right or wrong. They're helping him understand the emotional rhythm of your personality. Every small response gives him another piece of the puzzle, allowing him to see who you are when life isn't perfectly scripted. This is one reason emotionally connected men often remember surprisingly ordinary moments. They might remember the way you smiled at a child walking past, how you thanked a waiter without thinking twice, or how your face lit up when you saw something that reminded you of a favorite memory. To someone on the outside, those moments may seem forgettable. To someone developing genuine feelings, they're unforgettable because they reveal your values without you ever having to explain them. Your reactions also tell him how you handle emotions in real time. Does happiness come easily to you? Do you show compassion when someone else is struggling? Can you find humor after an awkward moment? These aren't questions he consciously asks himself, yet his mind naturally begins collecting the answers. Emotional intimacy grows through repeated observations like these, not through a single conversation or one perfect date. The consistency of your behavior matters far more than isolated moments of charm. Another thing he quietly notices is whether your reactions change when you're around him. As trust grows, people usually become less guarded. They laugh more freely, express opinions more honestly, and stop worrying about appearing perfect. When he sees that shift happening, it's often a sign that the relationship is becoming emotionally safer for both of you. That comfort creates a stronger bond because it allows each partner to be authentic instead of constantly managing impressions. Many women believe a man falls deeper because of unforgettable dates or dramatic experiences. While those moments can certainly be meaningful, lasting emotional connection is usually built in much quieter ways. It's created through hundreds of ordinary interactions where someone consistently reveals kindness, curiosity, resilience, and warmth. Those qualities don't need a spotlight to stand out. In fact, they're often most visible when no one realizes they're being observed. As these everyday moments continue to build, his attention starts noticing another powerful source of information: your body language. Without either of you saying a word, the way you naturally position yourself around him begins communicating feelings that even the most honest conversation sometimes can't fully express. After spending enough time noticing your everyday reactions, he begins paying closer attention to something even quieter: your body language. Words can express interest, and smiles can be encouraging, but body language often reveals emotions before either person is fully aware of them. When a man feels an intimate connection, he naturally becomes more aware of these silent signals because they help him understand how comfortable and emotionally present you truly feel when you're together. He may notice that you gradually lean in while you're talking, not because you're making a conscious effort, but because you feel engaged in the conversation. He sees the difference between someone who is politely listening and someone who is genuinely interested. The distance between two people often changes without either of them thinking about it, and those small changes can quietly communicate a growing sense of trust. When you naturally move a little closer instead of pulling away, it tells him that being near him feels comfortable rather than forced. Another detail that often catches his attention is how relaxed you seem in his presence. In the beginning of any relationship, it's normal for both people to be a little guarded. Shoulders may feel tense, movements can seem careful, and there's often a desire to avoid saying or doing the wrong thing. But as emotional intimacy grows, those protective habits slowly disappear. Your posture becomes more natural, your movements feel less rehearsed, and your expressions appear with less hesitation. Without realizing it, you're showing him that you're beginning to trust the connection. He also notices the little moments of unconscious synchronization that happen between two people who feel emotionally close. Sometimes you'll both smile at the same time, turn toward each other without thinking, or match each other's pace while walking. These moments aren't planned, yet they often happen when two people are emotionally in tune. He may never put these observations into words, but they leave him with a quiet feeling that the connection between you is becoming deeper and more effortless. What's important to understand is that he's not looking for perfect body language. Genuine connection isn't measured by textbook signs or dating rules. Everyone expresses comfort differently. Some people become more expressive, while others simply become calmer and more relaxed. What matters most is consistency. When your body language reflects the same warmth and openness over time, it creates a sense of emotional stability. That consistency reassures him that what he's feeling isn't one-sided or temporary. This is why small gestures often carry so much weight. A natural smile when you first see him, maintaining comfortable eye contact instead of looking away, or instinctively turning your body toward him while talking can leave a stronger impression than an elaborate romantic gesture. These actions don't demand attention, yet they quietly communicate acceptance, trust, and emotional availability in a way words sometimes cannot. As his confidence in the connection continues to grow, something interesting begins to happen. His attention shifts away from reading your signals and starts focusing on the little habits that make you unlike anyone else. Those everyday quirks, the ones you probably never think twice about, slowly become some of the most memorable parts of who you are in his eyes. Once a man no longer questions whether there's a genuine connection between the two of you, his attention begins settling on the smallest details that make you different from everyone else. These aren't the things most people notice during a first impression. They're the little habits and quirks that slowly reveal themselves over time. Ironically, the more emotionally invested he becomes, the less fascinated he is by perfection, and the more attached he becomes to the parts of you that are completely unique. He may notice the way you absent-mindedly tuck your hair behind your ear when you're concentrating, or how you lightly bite your lip while thinking through an important decision. Maybe you always laugh a second longer than everyone else, Or perhaps your eyes light up whenever you start talking about something you're passionate about. These habits seem ordinary because you've lived with them your entire life. To him, however, they're personal signatures that belong only to you, and that's exactly what makes them memorable. As emotional intimacy grows, these tiny details begin carrying emotional meaning. The way you wrap both hands around a warm cup of coffee, the little dance you do when your favorite song starts playing, or the expression that appears whenever you're trying not to laugh can unexpectedly stay in his mind long after the moment has passed. He's not collecting these memories on purpose. His mind naturally holds on to them because they're connected to the feelings he experiences whenever he's with you. Another reason these habits become so important is that they can't be copied. Anyone can wear attractive clothes or say the right words, but your natural mannerisms are entirely your own. They tell the story of your personality without requiring any explanation. The more he gets to know you, the more those small behaviors become comforting because they represent familiarity. Over time, familiarity often creates a stronger emotional bond than constant excitement ever could. He also begins noticing the routines that reveal your character. Maybe you instinctively check whether everyone at the table has what they need before thinking about yourself. Perhaps you always stop to admire flowers, wave at children, or smile at strangers without expecting anything in return. These quiet habits may seem insignificant, yet they consistently show him the kind of person you are when no one is asking you to impress them. Authentic kindness, curiosity, and generosity leave a lasting impact because they're reflected through repeated actions rather than carefully chosen words. One of the most powerful parts of emotional connection is that these little habits eventually become the things he misses the most when you're apart. It's not always the big dates or dramatic conversations that replay in his mind. More often, it's the sound of your laugh, the way you pronounce certain words, the playful look you give before making a joke, or the comforting smile that appears when you catch him looking at you. Those seemingly ordinary moments become extraordinary simply because they're connected to you. By this stage, his attention is no longer searching for reasons to like you. It has already found them in countless small moments. And just when those quiet memories begin to mean the most, another moment quietly rises above all the others. The final look he gives you in the last few seconds before it's time to say goodbye. After all the quiet observations, shared conversations, natural reactions, and unforgettable little habits, there comes one final moment that often says more than anything either of you could put into words. It's the moment just before you part ways. Whether you've spent an entire afternoon together or only a short amount of time, a man who feels a genuine, intimate connection will often find himself looking at your face one last time. It isn't a dramatic gesture meant to get your attention. In many cases, it happens almost automatically because his emotions are trying to hold on to the feeling of being close to you for just a little longer. That final glance carries a different kind of meaning than the looks he gave you earlier. At the beginning, he may have been learning who you are. Throughout your time together, he noticed your expressions, your reactions, your body language, and the little habits that make you unique. But as the moment of goodbye arrives, all of those impressions come together. He's no longer focused on one specific detail. Instead, he's taking in the whole picture. The smile you've become known for, the warmth in your eyes, and the comfort he feels simply standing beside you. What's interesting is that these goodbyes often reveal the depth of a connection more clearly than the time spent together. When someone doesn't matter very much, saying goodbye is usually quick and forgettable. But when genuine feelings are involved, leaving isn't just about ending the meeting. It's about recognizing that the person you're walking away from has become emotionally important. That's why his eyes may linger for an extra second, almost as if he's trying to memorize the moment before it slips away. Many women interpret this as hesitation or assume he's simply being polite. In reality, it can be something much deeper. Emotional attachment naturally creates a desire to preserve meaningful experiences. Without thinking about it, he wants to carry a clear memory of you into the hours or days until he sees you again. That final image becomes a reminder of how he felt in your presence. And emotions have a remarkable way of keeping certain moments alive long after they've ended. This lingering look also reflects anticipation. If the connection feels genuine, goodbye doesn't feel like an ending. It feels like a pause before the next conversation, the next shared laugh, or the next ordinary moment that will quietly become another meaningful memory. His attention isn't fixed on what he's leaving behind. It's already looking forward to the opportunity to experience your company again. That's one of the clearest signs that his feelings are rooted in emotional closeness rather than temporary attraction. When you step back and look at all six of these behaviors together, a clear pattern begins to emerge. A man who feels an intimate connection doesn't spend his time searching for perfection. His attention naturally settles on the moments that reveal who you truly are: your eyes, your genuine expressions, your everyday reactions, your comfortable body language, your unique habits, and finally, the lasting image he carries with him as you say goodbye. Those quiet observations may seem small on their own, but together they tell the story of a connection that grows through authenticity, trust, and the simple joy of truly seeing another person.